I remember it now. All right, title evidence, I'm not worried about this part. Check one, so we're on page 4. And this is the closing agent. So the first box is seller shall designate closing agent and pay. So I call it pick and pay. They'll pick the closing agent and pay. The next one is buyer shall pick the closing agent and pay. And then the third one is Miami-Dade Broward. So if it's in Miami, you're gonna pick the third one. If the property is in any of these, of any county other than Miami-Dade, whoever picks title controls the transaction. Right? Because if you're a title company, even though they're neutral, you get to control what's going on. So if, I'll give you an example. If you have the buyer and you picked level 10, can you just walk into level 10's office and find out what's going on?
Yes.
Okay. If the seller picks the title company and it's Cohen Norris, blah, 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 attorneys, can you just walk in their office and ask them what's going on? No. This is what I'm saying. That's the control. So in most title companies, you call up and there's a clerk or an administrative person. And so you get to run around, they don't answer you, you keep calling, you can't get answers. You know what we can do here with level 10? Just walk in.
So
Right?
but in,
So
who usually get title between the?
you're putting it on here. You can pick anybody you want.
Oh,
You're
I
putting
see.
it right here, seller or buyer. If it's your buyer, you pick title. They're gonna pay for it anyway.
Okay.
What do you mean you're gonna pay for it?
Well, the buyer has to pay for title insurance anyway, because there's title policies.
But about if the seller wanna pick title, how you play with that?
Well, it's an offer.
Oh.
I am offering this, right? So I'm offering for my buyer to pay, which will save your seller maybe $1,000 or $2,000. But the grief that I have to go through, like the stress and everything, is not worth the couple of $1,000s. So if I have the buyer, I'm picking title. If I have the seller, I'm picking title.
But you're letting the buyer know that they are going to pay $1,000 more.
Well, they're gonna pay the closing costs, which I can still split with the seller. I just want to pick the company. It's not about the payment, it's about picking the company.
And how do you convince the seller that you are sharing the title?
Well, we're gonna make a deal. It's an offer,
Got it.
so we're gonna negotiate that. But I want level 10, that's my thing.
Sure.
I don't care if the seller pays for it, I just want level. And I'll explain to the other agent, hey, I have a title company who's 3 doors down from my office. And it'd be great if we could use them because you're dealing directly with the owner, he knows exactly. I mean, when you're talking to Jacob, he is the owner of the title
Yeah.
company.
Very
It's very different than dealing with a whole bunch of people sitting up front blocking your access to the owner, because that's really what's happening, right? They have protection around them.
Question. So, many times on the MLS, on the broker's remarks, said they don't give the title.
That's not many times, infrequently,
Yeah, I'm saying, so they.
every so often,
Every seller has already.
Yeah,
title.
and that's okay.
So,
I can still ask.
the case, we check seller.
Nope, I still ask. I still pick buyer.
Buyer.
And if they don't notice it, I mean, if they notice it, we negotiate. And if not, they can do it.
Alright.
But at least I made the attempt.
Yeah.
So we 100%.
I do. I'm just telling you what I would do because I like having Jacob like right down the hall from me.
Even if they tell you in the broker remarks,
Hmm?
even if they tell you the broker
I
remarks.
still try. Maybe
It's
they
an
won't see
offer.
the X.
So you're always gonna check off the buyer shall designate.
Well, if I'm writing the offer, I am. Right? Because if I'm not writing the offer,
Well, I remember last time you said that Palm Beach County seller should title company,
it's not right.
right?
That would not have come from me. That would have come from any other person you talk to. So here's the story. It is customary in Palm Beach County for the seller to pick title. It is customary in Broward, and so agents say that it's a law. Customary, first of all, there's no laws.
Okay, that's why I got.
Yeah.
Custom.
So agents will always say it's, oh, well, we're in Broward, we pick, the buyer pays. I'm like, no, we can negotiate this.
It's negotiable in Broward.
Negotiable anywhere. Negotiable anywhere. Yeah. But it is customary, yeah,
It's customary in Broward.
for the buyer to pay, and it's customary in Palm Beach for the seller to pay. That's where it comes from, is agents like, oh, but it's a law, the buyer pays. No, it's not.
But somebody got sued.
That's the problem. Agents. This will be a great business, if it wasn't for the agent. It's actually not the agents, it's the lack of education.
Right.
That's really all it is. Like, you'll hear something and then you'll just repeat it. Like, people will hear it and they're like, oh, but that's what I was told, I'm gonna do this. No, stop and think. Don't just do it. Stop and think. How is this gonna work out? Home warranty is the next big one. Survey is in here. We talked about it, but there's nothing to check because we had to ask that before for cash buyers, right? Home warranty, your agents in here, I'll say it, they do it right in here, will tell you to automatically check NA. You can't automatically check something for your client. Are you not gonna give them the option? Shouldn't you give them the option? You can't automatically say NA. Now, it's gonna be NA, but you can't, you still have to offer it and explain it to. So at closing, buyer or seller shall pay for a home warranty plan issued by, I use American Home Shield. I don't have any stock in them, it's just that I don't know the names of any other ones. I can't even spell this.
But you can use anyone.
But it wants a name in here, so you can use any one you want. I just only know this one.
What happens if you go through another company? You put that down, but use another company that way.
It doesn't matter. Nobody really cares.
For new construction, does this apply?
So, they have a special rate for new construction that starts in the 13th month. Because the first 12 months are covered.
Who that's this company?
Yeah, most of them do. If you wanted to.
So for new construction,
You're not using this for new construction, right? They have their own contract.
Okay. Cause new construction, you don't, nothing, you just only sign.
Yeah, it's their contract. You really
Okay, you just take them.
just sit there and listen.
Okay.
And wait for the money.
So what will you put in?
What? 79?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Miami. Don't worry about it. It's a little bit white.
Leave it blank.
Yeah, that one you can use mine because it's Miami and I don't care.
NA.
Well, it says above like than 200, so you can, but if you check it, you'll have to put the 200 in, but we don't, we're not doing Miami-Dade special. This is this is not a real appraisal, it's something different. But we very seldom.
But it's like this one is if you buying from Miami.
The property is in Miami,
Or Broward.
it's Miami-Dade Broward, but we're not, we're not, just ignore it. Okay, ignore it, don't use it. For now.
What's the 600 mean?
Okay, so here is, if I was gonna fill this out, home warranty. Buyers, if I was gonna fill this out, somebody shall pay for a home warranty plan issued by American Home Shield at a cost not to exceed 600. That's what I would put in, but I'm not, because I'm not using it, I'm just filling it in.
That's nice.
Let me explain why. Let me explain, Lucy. So, I'm gonna explain this to my buyers. So a home warranty covers plumbing, electrical, everything inside the walls, not outside the walls, plumbing, electrical, appliances, AC, garage door opener. So it typically covers everything that could go wrong, and you are buying a used house. So pretty sure the day you move in, something's going to break. And I explained that to them. So plumbing, electrical, appliances, AC, water heater, all those things. And so a home warranty plan, not to exceed 600, unless you have a pool, then you can add extra things on, but typically it's 550, 600. And every time you call out a discipline, it's $75 service fee. So if I call an electrician and a plumber, it's 75 and 75. Right? For the service fee. So each discipline is a service fee, because it's the AC guy is not the plumber, so I have to pay for each discipline. All right, they come out, they fix it, they either repair it or replace it.
Then you pay the difference.
No, $75.
Yeah, it's like a deductible.
I absolutely love it.
Oh, so
And
you
it's
just
covered
pay
a year?
$75.
That's it. And they repair or replace.
A year?
Every year it's $600 and then the service fee.
It makes a lot of sense.
It's wonderful. I mean, I've had one, all the years I've owned a house, I've always had American Home Shield. That's why it's the only one I know. But so I'm explaining this to the buyer, right? So I promise you, the week you move in, something's gonna break. So the dishwasher breaks. How much is a dishwasher?
$35.
No, I mean, like really, how much?
Oh,
Like 1,200.
yeah, yeah.
3, 4, 1,200, depending on, so they're gonna come out for $75. Right? AC, how often does your AC, now, this is a used house, right? This is not a new house. How soon or how often do you think the AC is gonna fail? At least, right? I've had them out 3 times last year, $75. And I asked the guy, I said, how many times you can come out and fix this before I get a new one? He goes, until I run out of parts. I'm like, okay. So I get the same guy all the time.
But when you call, you ask for that same person?
No, I don't. They just like sending them to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm in a neighborhood or something. I don't know, but I would get the same guy. He's like, oh, it's you again. I'm like, yeah. No, it's not a farm. They have an agreement. Yeah, it's an agreement. It's a
So
nice
the
guy.
AC stops work in the middle of summer, then call.
Yeah, and it typically takes them, for some reason, my AC always fails Friday at 5 o'clock. They come out Monday. Always. It always fails Friday. But if not, they come out and they're really good. So if I could get my AC to fail Thursday, that would be perfect because they'd be there the next
The
day.
next day, okay.
But who cares? It's not a $600 repair. How much if I call somebody else gonna come out and give me a quote? It's gonna be way more than $75. I'm okay, I'll stay at somebody's house weekend. I'm good, I'll go to a hotel. But how valuable is this?
And when you use level 10 title, he had one of the things that he offers when the buyer pays title insurance. He offers the first year for $250.
There you go. Even better.
It's
The same company
exclusive
for
to
1 year.
KW.
To level 10.
From level
Oh, to
10
level
title.
10.
I
Okay,
don't
250.
remember That's the company that he uses, but
Who cares?
yeah.
Because they're all the same. They're all the same.
It's only $250.
For the
For
first
the first
year.
year.
For the
And
first
and
year.
after,
And then after the second
what's the
year,
month?
you pay the.
After that, you'll always stay on it, right? You're never gonna come off.
What's the deduction? on
Uh,
the company? Do you know what it is?
I don't.
They're all 75 and 100.
Twelve 75?
They're 70, sometimes
But-
100.
I just know it's 50.
That's incredible.
Oh,
that's good.
That's a great
no,
deal.
I'm saying it's,
For the-
so 50 is great, but let's say it's a one. Yeah.
No, 250 is he pays the first 250. I have to pay the rest of the 600. And then the deductible is 75 or 100, depending on what plan.
He pays $250.
He's contributing 250 towards it.
So that number I would put.
No,
So I still put 600, but he's
so
gonna
he
pay
pays
250.
600, he pays like, 350. And then the buyer only
Pay-
has to pay
pay
two.
The difference, yeah.
Yeah, and then what I have done, because I got it for a client, so the AC and water heater were not that great.
We're gonna talk
So,
about that, yeah.
so I pay for that, like, because sometimes we do like closing gifts, so
Yeah.
I decided.
Oh, that's nice.
It's beautiful.
Go ahead, you guys see?
So here's how I want
No,
you to,
she paid the warranty.
Oh,
pay for the warranty.
Yeah.
Here's how I want you, so I'm gonna explain it to them, right? After I explain what it does, then I still put NA. And I'll tell you why I do that. After I explain it, I still put NA. I wait till the inspection is done. This is the thing. I wait till the inspection is done. So I put no one buying this right now. But once the inspection is done, I get to see how old everything is, and I know everything. And instead of asking the seller to repair it, I ask the seller to pay for the warranty. Because instead of repairing the AC or the water heater, instead of repairing one thing, why don't you just pay for the home warranty and it goes on there not to exceed $600, then I get him to then he'll pay for the part of it. And that way, instead of just repairing one thing, I have everything covered for a service fee of $75. And I explained this to the buyer, right here.
And
Are
then you
you
added
excited?
20.
Can you go through?
I'm
my
gonna put
explanation?
NA for now, because I explained what it is, right? So you're the buyer, so I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna put NA on here. And then when we get the inspection, we're gonna get back the results of how old everything is, what the life is. Like they'll say, oh, the AC is good for another 3 years and the water heater is probably has another year on it. I'm like, I don't want, so, next, instead of having the seller repair anything, I'm gonna ask for the seller to pay for your home warranty.
So you got an addendum?
Yeah, yeah. And that way, the day they move in, whatever breaks, we're good,
That's great.
right? And I don't like sellers to repair things anyway. Now, if it's a lender required repair, there's nothing that has to be done. But if it's a regular repair, I don't like sellers to repair things because they're gonna put a Band-Aid on it just so that I can get through the inspection.
Yeah.
Because they want out.
That's true.
So I don't like sellers to do anything. I'm like, give me money or whatever, but I don't touch it. I don't trust them. I had a seller, I had an investor and he bought an investment property in Pompano Beach and it doesn't have it's a frame house, you know what frame is. And it had a carport. Behind the carport, there was like a little section that was the laundry room. So it's carport, a wall, and then behind that was a laundry room. And so we're standing there talking outside, and it must have been 100 degrees. And I'm standing there listening to him and his wife argue about the price of the property. And I'm like, so what do you think? And when I did this, it was completely wood rot with termites and I fell in. The whole thing just fell apart because they had painted high gloss over it so we wouldn't see it. But when I leaned on it, my hand went all the way through.
So did you get a lawyer and sue?
They got the house for like nothing. There's nothing. I'm like, okay, so that was, oh yeah, well, it's termites, who cares?
Yeah.
But it was just that he had it, I don't trust sellers. He painted it really well.
So that's like knowingly being deceptive.
Yeah.
Well,
What
then it
inspection have shown
wasn't in the seller disclosure.
No, we hadn't had an inspection.
What did the inspection?
Oh my God, yeah, they would have caught termites. I mean, after I fell through, you could see all the termites. You could see all the little wings. You ever see it? Making faces for, you've never seen.
Oh, I
it.
have seen, I have seen.
You haven't seen it.
They're not.
Yeah, they're colonies. They're so
That's nasty.
cool. Yeah. They fly, they're cool.
Are termites like bed bugs?
Yeah, they look like ants with wings.
They
And
big.
then also.
They're
too,
bigger than
where,
ants.
In Florida, we have carpenter ants, they
Oh.
don't fly, but they're not for your, you have a frame,
Anything would,
yeah.
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 Okay, we're at special assessments. Okay, so we're okay with how to explain this, right? This is a nice little thing that you
Yeah.
can
Do
do
we
for
keep
your
the
buyer.
600 there though?
No, no, there shouldn't be any there because I said NA. But when I write the addendum, I'm gonna include all that stuff.
So when you send the contract for the first time.
I put NA.
Any.
But I have that little conversation with them. See, if I can sit and go through a contract with my buyer on this in person. Do you know how much value this adds? When I'm going through this rather than say, oh, let me send it to you on DocuSign, check, and they don't know me.
They just signed, they trust it.
They trust you, yeah, but we haven't this, I mean, I have not built my
Right.
respect, my value. They're not seeing how much I'm doing.
Cause,
You should
most-
sit and
most
go, you
people-
were a buyer, you should sit and go through this with them.
I go through it and ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But that's now, like, when I first, my home, I was like 20 something. And I didn't know what I was
No.
doing, and I'm realizing a lot of this now that I did wrong. Cause, but we did a homeowner sold their house, so we bought it through, a family friend. So none of this. was
Nothing.
Ever.
Yeah.
That's the disadvantage.
And that's
I
how
need
the
a
agent-
realtor to even handle that situation. I think a lot of the issues that I encountered in the first time would have been.
Well, at least you would have,
Protected,
yeah,
yeah.
you would have known what to look for.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, use a realtor because this is what.
Yep.
Special assessments, now this has, okay. There's no way to just highlight this, right? I don't see. No highlight thing in here, because
No.
I'm gonna,
What's the I for?
I don't know. Highlight,
Ah.
let's see if that's,
It looks.
okay, let's try this. Public body special, no, it didn't work.
Let's see, really.
It didn't
Click on
work.
it though?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's touching.
but this is not an editable field.
Okay.
Okay, it's okay. Special assessments. This does not include condo or homeowner association. That's not what this special assessment is about. This is road work, sewers. This is county, city assessments for improvements. So like, in the acreage where you have dirt roads, maybe they're gonna pave the road. So everybody pays for half of the road, or they're gonna put sewer, public sewer in and replace the septic. That's what this special assessment is about. And so here, either the seller pays the installments that are due prior to closing, and then the buyer pays for it after closing. So if it's gonna be like a 2-year period, but we're moving out, the seller pays up until close date and the buyer takes over, because the buyer is gonna enjoy that improvement. Right? So that's most common, but here it says seller shall pay in full prior to closing. If neither box is fixed, check, then it's option A. 50-50.
But this is for like rural communities.
Well, it's not just rural. It could be anything. Maybe they're doing underground utility work and they're charging an assessment. Maybe
But that's
they're
all
putting,
under tax.
not necessarily. That would be afterwards in taxes. Not necessarily. There could be a special assessment. So there's different things. I just don't want you to think it's just rural, because it's not.
Okay.
But it is not condo or homeowner association. So you always check that box because you just don't know. It's just to cover it, right?
So always check the.
Box A.
A.
That seller shall pay up to closing and the buyer takes over afterwards, because regardless of whatever that assessment is, then the buyer is going to be enjoying it after closing. So I don't like to charge it. Now, the rest of this section, so here it's disclosure. So a disclosure means I'm disclosing to you. I'm telling you about something. It doesn't mean you have an option or it's nothing, just, So radon gas, up north, northerners that come down here are very afraid of radon gas. It's like, oh my God, there's radon gas. Well, we don't have radon gas because our houses are so full of holes and leaks, nothing can stay inside. We're not the most energy efficient houses, and we have no basement. So there's nothing gathering up inside. It's slim and none that there's radon gas, but if they want to, they can get an inspection. That's all it's saying. Mold, hey, this is Florida. There's mold everywhere in Florida. There's mold on that tree. I can't get rid of it. So if you want a mold inspection, you can go get it. Elevation certificate. So this is about the insurance stuff that has nothing to do with us. Talk to your insurance person. Energy brochure. Now, this is a little tricky because this says the buyer acknowledges receipt of the Florida Energy Efficiency Rating Information brochure. What is that saying?
That we
That you
provided.
give them a-
That they've already received it.
Yeah.
They acknowledge that they've received it. So guess what we have to include with this contract?
The
We have to include this brochure. So when you send the offer to your buyer, or if you have them do it in person, you have to include this brochure, because otherwise they can come back and say, you didn't give it to me. So this contract is null and void. Right? If an attorney got a hold of this, you'd be like, did you provide this to my client? No.
That is a
So just add it to the side, please include. It's a separate document, yeah.
Where do we get the brochure?
It's in the same place you got this contract from. DocuSign, same section.
Oh,
With all the
okay.
buyers, it's with all the offer stuff,
Gotcha.
right there.
What do you put in that blank space that says seller? and
Up here,
blank
Yeah.
days? Oh,
so this is for the coastal, so if it's on a coastline, and only the insurance company would tell them if they do that. Yeah, so I don't have to worry about that. Lead-based, energy push, okay, lead-based paint, 1978, you know what to do with that, you have the addendum. Homeowner association, community disclosure, you have to include the addendum. This is another training issue. This says buyer should not execute this contract until buyer has received and read the homeowner disclosure, not the documents. Agents will argue that you have to give them the condo document. No, it doesn't. I just have to give them the disclosure.
What are the disclosures?
And then they get the,
That there's a homeowner or a condo association.
and then they get the documents straight.
That has nothing to do with this section. Because people will argue with people, agents will argue that you didn't provide it, and I'm like, I don't have to provide this, I have to provide the disclosure.
Now, is the buyer's obligation to
Once we're executed, yeah. Yeah. Property tax disclosure, don't believe anything you see on the MLS, that's all I got to say. The taxes that show on the MLS are the current owner's taxes, not your taxes. So you can provide them the link to go put the address in and figure out what their taxes are going to be. But don't go buy anything that's on the MLS.
What's that?
It's on Pappas, it's a link, you just have to find it, and it allows them to put their address in. And anything else that they need to know. So be the source of the source. Don't do it for them. Just tell them where to go, provide them with the information. So be the source of the source.
And this is getting a lot of new home buyers.
Oh my God, new home construction.
The following year, they're like, their taxes like 7,000.
Let me talk about that. So you want to provide the link to Pappas? What was that?
He's asking us to spell it.
What, Pappas?
Yeah.
Property appraisers?
Yeah.
Papa, property appraisers. And you can just Google Papa's, just put Palm Beach appraiser address lookup,
And this is recording
just
the
Google.
county that the house is.
Yeah. Yeah, so they can just put in their own, put in the address and let them look it up. You want them to look it up because if you tell them the wrong information, guess who's in trouble? You. If you never disclose the information, just tell them where to go to get it. Tax disclosure, new construction. So if someone's buying new construction, the taxes are based on the land only because the house wasn't built. And that's the problem. But in their contract, there's a whole section on taxes. Remember, this is not new construction contract. So on their contract, there's a whole section of fine print. Problem is nobody reads it.
I didn't. That's killing us now.
So what your taxes like 10,000 or something?
Exactly, I don't know.
Because I bought so 4 or 5 new constructions, and so I'm used to it, but
But that's like my husband.
you were just
saw that
paying for the
paper,
land.
Go like, huh?
Farm for homestead.
Yeah,
We
but
did.
still it's not
And it's
enough.
still high.
It's still,
Homestead
it's like
is like
10,000,
25,000,
10,500,
Anything.
So.
10,500.
Property tax on new homes is more than.
Because when they sell you the house, the tax is based on the land. But then you have an improvement on it of another 600,000 the next year because the house, because now you live in the house. So now you're gonna pay tax on the house and the land. So it'd be 10 times more than what it was before.
That
That's-
happens to-
Everybody, they get everybody.
I said, like, I mean, we called them, we said, what happened? What's wrong? We pay like, and then that's the way you explain it.
But I
And
think,
then they do it because after we build the house, our house get value. So, and then it doesn't pick based on
So you
what
paid
you bought.
100,000 for the land. There's no improvement. You just paid for
Yes.
dirt. Now there's an improvement. That's why it's
Yeah.
called land and improvement.
Then now they killing us.
It's better every year.
500.
The reason why you homestead, the homestead doesn't really reduce it reduces the tax amount by 50,000. So if your house is 500,000, your taxes are based on 450. What homestead protects you on is every single year, it can't go up %. That's how homestead protects you. So if your house went up to 1 million, your taxes could only go up 3%. That's how homestead saves you. We'll bring the property appraiser back in. She was in here 6 months ago. We had her, Dorothy Jacks, we had her in here and she was my guest speaker about 6 months ago. And so she did a whole section on it. FERPTA, Foreign Investment Real Property Tax Act, that has to do only with IRS. There is no addendum right next to this. There is no addendum. Another agent might say, oh, you need to use this addendum. The only addendum, let's see if this is. Yes, okay, this is perfect. The only addendum. Like, I put in FERPTA. Perfect. That's the only addendum. And what does that addendum say? What's the name of that addendum over on the left? Say, Chris, what did I tell you about Chris?
None.
Don't use it. So there is no addendum, and agents will argue that there's an addendum. No, there isn't. It hasn't, this addendum has nothing to do with it. Let me see if this is a good example, like nothing. Let's see. Explains it well, but. Can't use it. Yeah, we can't use it because it's a first form and it has nothing to do with the contract that we're using.
So in the event that you're representing the buyer and then the seller to inform the buyer, is this through agent?
What do you mean for FERPTA? What do you mean?
If the seller is forced?
If the seller is okay, so FERPTA is just disclosing that someone here doesn't have a social security number or someone doesn't pay taxes. I don't care if it's the buyer or the seller. If it is the seller, when he goes to closing, the title company will keep the 20% of the sale price.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. This, the title company will collect it from the seller and report it under the buyer's name. Because the buyer has a social security number, so it's a pass through the buyer. And then, so if it's my buyer, nothing happens on the buy side until they sell it. But I need to let my buyer know now that if you're a foreigner, when you sell it, you're gonna pay FERPTA tax. 20%, Yeah, I think it is, but we're not supposed to know because we're not supposed to tell them. We're just supposed to let them know to go talk to somebody.
They need to talk to the tax.
Seller's disclosure. Always ask for a seller's disclosure. You're on the buy side, so we don't know if they have a seller's. Maintenance. Now, this is the other most important section, so. Property inspection, that's one. Right to cancel is both in here. Okay, so the buyer shall have a left bank in 15 days. We typically put 7 days or 10 days. The property is not going to get any better. If it's got problems, it doesn't get better, so you don't need to wait 15 days. 7 days is good. After the effective date, which is your inspection period, with which to have such inspections of property performed as buyer desires during the inspection period. Now, the inspection and the results have to be completed during this time frame. And the results
How
have to
long
be
do the
done.
results take?
Well, the results are what you and the other agent negotiate.
Oh, that's the result.
So as long as you come to agreement, it has to be done before the end of the inspection period. If I did the inspection yesterday and my buyer wants blah, 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 and I go to the other agent, I'm like, I want blah, 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 and they're like, nope. Well, today's the last day of my inspection period.
Right.
So we have to resolve this today and don't wait till midnight. Because if you don't, my buyer loses their deposit. So the inspection and the results have to be determined during or the end of the inspection period. That's one section. Next section. If buyer determines in buyer's sole discretion that the property is not acceptable to the buyer, nothing to do with the inspection. They just don't like it. Buyer may terminate this contract by delivering written notice during the same time frame, and then deposit will be returned to the buyer. So same time frame. If they don't like the color of the house, I don't like the backyard. I want out. As long as it's done during the inspection period. Has nothing to do with the inspection. Two different things. Are we good?
So that's 7 days, why give them 7 days if they have if they want to?
Why do you want to wait 15 days to tie up a house?
No,
You don't like it? You don't like it? You need 15 days to figure that out? You don't need, and if it's in poor condition, I don't need it to be in worse condition. You don't need 15 days to decide you don't want.
Right.
If you want to give your buyer 15 days, you just wasted an extra 8 days of your life and they're still gonna turn it down. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it, let's get out.
So you already have that inspector online.
Yeah, yeah,
Even before.
there's no reason to wait 15 days, there's just no reason. Not for my time, not for your time, not for the seller's time, let's
Also,
just
why
do
would
it,
you-
you like it or you don't, let's just do it.
Why would you write a contract on a house you don't like?
Well, that's good, because people are in their ears at night. Or they're on social media. No, seriously, the minute. You know how when you buy, you know how you spend weeks looking for a new car? And you got that car, like, okay, that's it. And your red Camry. I want this red Camry. I love this car. It's so awesome. You go, you get the car, you pull off the car lot, you get to the stoplight. How many red Camrys do you see?
6,000.
6,000. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. Once someone starts looking at properties, you know how many realtors show up on their phone or in social media? It's like something goes out into the universe and everybody is a realtor or related to a realtor or giving them advice on what to do and what not to do. And TikTok's going back and forth to you on don't buy this house, don't do this, don't trust a realtor, don't sign an agreement. The minute, so don't give them time. There's too many interferences right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's this section.
So in that part, you put 7 days?
10 days
7 to
max, 10 days max.
10
Yeah, I don't
days.
need 15 days. That's way too long in my life. 5 days of my life. My time is valuable. Because that means we want to go look at another house. I'm not going to another house. I'm tired of it.
Plus, it's your responsibility to bring the inspector.
Let's get it done. Yeah, let's get it done. Yeah, and move on. Walkthrough inspections, the property is supposed to be made available. Escrow agent, this explains the escrow agent. Broker liability, they can't sue us. It's a hold harmless, don't sue me if you don't like it. Buyer default, if buyer fails, neglects or refuses to perform buyer's obligations under this contract, including payment of the deposit within the time specified, seller may elect to recover and retain the deposit of for the account of seller as agreed upon liquidated. Next. Okay. And then it said, remember I said line 3.2. The portion of the deposit, if any, paid to listing broker upon default by the buyer shall be split equally between listing broker and cooperative broker. Huh. How nice is that? If the listing broker gets something, he has to split it with us, not to exceed what our commission would be in the first. So be very careful with that. Seller default, not much. Now, here's the
Can you
thing.
explain that again? Cause now I'm trying to.
Well, that means that the buyer recovers half of it? Or it goes to the buyer?
The portion of the deposit, if any, paid to listing broker upon default by the buyer. If the listing broker gets anything, he has to split it, share with cooperating broker.
This is the case of
Buyer default. Seller default, different. Seller default, buyer gets their stuff back.
And what does the cooperating broker?
Gives it back to the buyer.
Goes to me. It goes to the broker. It's money, right? All money goes to the broker. Brokerage.
So the buyer gets enough. Because he wasn't-
Right, but if you want to give it to your buyer, you could. You could.
That's what that conversation was
Wait,
with us, right?
wait, slow down. Can you repeat that again?
If any money goes to the listing agent because the buyer defaulted,
Hmm.
let's say we negotiated, we're doing a cancellation and we negotiated if there was $20,000, 10,000 goes to the seller and 10,000 goes to the listing agent. The listing agent's 10,000 gets split with the cooperating agent.
So the cooperating broker is the agent or is
Makes sense.
the office keeping?
Why not? Did you do your job? Did you bring a ready, winning and able buyer?
Yeah.
That's what you get paid.
Yeah,
Back
but
to
you
sale,
said,
it's not an
wait,
actual sale.
yeah, you said, let's say I have a buyer. And then my buyer pull out, said that
He defaults, not just close out, he defaults, and there's $20,000 there
20,000, 10,000 for the seller, 10,000
for the listing agent.
for the listing agent.
Got it.
But because the listing agent gets, if we all agree to this, then the next thing is listing agent gives you half, because it says. Listing broker and cooperating broker, so long as it doesn't exceed our regular commission.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
the representative.
The buy side is the cooperating broker, so there's listing broker and buyer, so that's cooperating.
So it's 50% of what the listing agent gets, not 50% of the total.
No, it says the portion of deposit, if any, that was paid to the listing broker upon default by the buyer. Now, if I'm doing the cancellation, right, because I'm the buy side and I'm doing the cancellation, remember all papers done by the buy side, and I'm doing it, and I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna give 50% to you and 50% to the brokerage, and then the other brokerage gets half of that 50%, so 50% to the seller, 25% to you and 25%.
I guess, why does the seller
They took their house off the market while you were messing around with this buyer.
So
Right?
at the end of the day, I still get something.
We could,
Yeah.
you have the right to ask for it. So this is all negotiated, this is not a
And it
done
all
deal.
depends on the scenario. I have a case when the buyer wasn't, because the lender denied it, never let us know.
Buyer's still in default, because it's the buyer's job to let you know, not the lenders. Remember, we said, buyer has to let you know what's going on. The buyer knows they got turned down. Trust me, they know. They're not telling you because they're ashamed. The buyer knows they were turned down.
But I was dealing mostly with the lender.
Buyer still, you don't talk to, still,
It was negligence from the lender, but in that case, the deal was saved. But if you, because of the relation with the other agent, and then we had to start over again with other lenders.
yeah, but it is still the buyer shall upon request seller and broker inform about the status of their mortgage application. It's all on the buyer. That's, the lender may not have done it, but it's the buyer who's supposed to keep you up to date. I just don't trust the buyer 100%. And in your case, perfect example, the buyer knows when they're turned down. They know, the lender has told them, I can't do it.
But okay, remember I asked you
Don't
that
blame the lender,
question?
the buyer is
Yeah.
blaming the lender.
In a new construction, you don't really have connection with the lender. So like,
Maybe you don't. It's your lender,
it's not my lender. Cause like, for example, my,
well, this isn't your
Buyer?
deal. Yeah, your buyer has access to their lender. It's
Yes,
the
so I
buyer's
don't.
responsibility.
So
Just
they
that it's
call
the
me.
buyer.
okay,
The buyer's supposed to let you know everything that's going on. See,
You
that's
have-
why it
you
said
have to
buyer.
Understand this contract too.
Yes.
That's why I don't just send a DocuSign like that.
That's what it's the buyer's responsibility. Now, so trust but verify. Trust your buyer, but verify with the lender. You gotta be talking to both. Somebody knows what's going on. And in her case, I mean, you saved it, but in your case, the buyer's in default. The lender didn't do their job, but the buyer was supposed to let you know. And that's why you need to, the first time you write an offer, you should sit down with the buyer. After the second and third time, it's like, remember the other offer? It's the same contract. And then you can DocuSign it. Then we've already gone. You have any questions about the first time? Okay. Then it's, but the first time you go, in fact, as a listing agent, after I get the listing, I go over this with them. Because I need them to understand what we're doing when we go into it. So when I get the offer, it's the contract we discussed, or I could leave it with them and have them look at it. So everybody has to know what's going on, right?
My experience and my suggestion is don't ever work with a inheritance.
Say that again?
Don't ever work with an inheritance.
What's that?
Meaning that you are basically, they're bringing their lender and you have no relationship.
Well, it's harder.
It's very.
It's harder.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with title. That's what I'm saying. I want to be able to have access to those people.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's the same thing. Time is of the essence. Everything is calendar days. Got it? We're good? If something happens on a Saturday or Sunday or a national public holiday, then it goes to the next day at, next business day, 5 o'clock. But it's calendar days.
You said you were gonna go with the, that French word? Major.
Oh, force majeure.
We already did, I mean,
Where is it?
Over there.
Four forty,
Yeah, right,
three
you just had-
forty-two.
You just passed at the bottom of, on page 8.
Force majeure. It's Latin,
Oh, is it Latin?
Latin. Not French.
Fuerza mayor.
Where's my French people? It's not French, it's Latin. Force majeure, buyer and seller should not be required to exercise. If you can't, if utilities and everything aren't available because of certain events, then we can get extensions on, but they have to re-examine the property. So force majeure means hurricanes, floods, extreme weather, earthquakes, fires, other acts of God, unusual transportation delays. Now, this, from here on, this was just added since, January
January
6th of, yeah, that's when this was added. And the pandemic, so transportation delays are because of the pandemic, so they just, before it was just hurricanes. So it used to be just hurricanes, floods, extreme weather, acts of God. Yes, unusual transportation delays, wars, insurrections, civil unrest, acts of terrorism, governmental actions and mandates, government shutdowns, epidemics, pandemics. All this was added by exercise. So it's just saying if any of this happened and we can't get to the banks, or banks are closed or whatever, then we're okay. So it says in the event no longer prevents performance under this contract, provided however, if such force majeure event continues to prevent performance under this contract for more than 30 days beyond closing date, then either party may terminate this contract. And everyone gets their money back. That's really all it is. Now, now hurricanes, so pay attention in the next month or two, we're gonna be talking about insurance and hurricane. June 1st, we go back to hurricane season. So we're gonna talk about special events that happen around hurricanes and insurance and being in the box. But we don't discuss that until June, because I only got 4 minutes to finish. Closing location is where the house is. Prorations, they're gonna talk about prorations. So this is, I call all this dictionaries, because it's just describing what we did. And then, look, there's the addendum. All these addendums are matched 100% when you're in Command and DocuSign, and they all have these letters in front of them. So throughout this, you saw pre-closing, rider T, we saw post-closing, appraisal contingency, that's rider F. So all these writers are just fill in the blanks. So don't write your own verbiage on these things, find the appropriate addendum. Notice, like it'll say reserve, reserve, reserve. Well, that's where FERPTA used to be. So they took FERPTA out and they put the entire addendum in the contract. So that's why we don't have a separate addendum, because people were ignoring it. So they put it in the addendum and then they took it away here. One of these was Chinese drywall, because we're not allowed to say Chinese drywall, you know, protect class, I don't know. So they called it defective drywall. So, what?
I didn't know.
Just trying to say it's.
You
Can say Chinese. So they named it defective drywall, but it used to be over there. So when you see reserve, it's because there used to be something there 10 or 15 years ago and they. And then if you're related to the buyer or seller, that means you have an interest in the property. So the licensee has an interest.
Say that one more time.
If you're related to the buyer or the seller, whether it's your own transaction or it's a brother, or mother, or father, then you want to include this disclosure because you have an interest in the sale and the transaction going through.
That could be a family member.
Family member, friend. It could be anyone.
Friend doesn't count. It would have to be family, spouse, something like that, because you're protecting that person next, you know. Miami-Dade, nobody cares. PACE disclosure. So PACE I'm gonna make. So
You got 30 seconds.
I got 30 seconds. So PACE disclosure goes this way. So PACE is about any kind of property improvement that was due to energy efficiency improvement, like the roof, the windows, solar panels. So you can get a special loan for those things, and it's called a PACE loan. And so the PACE loan gets charged through non-ad valorem taxes. So like I spent $35,000 on windows and doors for my house. So instead of paying them $35,000, I pay them $100 a month through my property tax. and that's the PACE loan. So, but when I sell the house, I have to have that paid off completely. I can't pass it on to the next person. So it gets added onto whatever it is that I owe for the house.
It's a lien basically.
It is a lien, because it's a weird kind of a lien. It's really done through taxes, not.
Yeah.
But you'll see it in the non-ad valorem, so you'll see it in their taxes. And so anytime someone says, oh, we got a whole new roof, we got new windows, we got solar, ask the seller when it was done and how did you pay for it? And if I don't know, but I know that it said new roof last year or new windows, then I automatically include this, whether I know it or not. If they said they had a new roof put in the last 3 or 4 years or 5 years or new windows, I automatically include this disclosure just in case. And all it says is that the seller will pay, if if there is a PACE loan, the seller knows that he has to pay it all back. So it's not a surprise, because the problem with this is the seller doesn't know. They forget.
And it applies to windows,
It's
roof,
energy
windows,
efficiency.
anything.
Yeah, it's big loans. Typically it's roof, windows and
AC.
solar.
Would it be AC too?
No, that's not energy efficient.
Oh, it is, and
But you
it's
wouldn't,
not a large enough.
you can't get enough, yeah, you won't get a loan for it.
Roof,
Gotcha.
windows, maybe.
Yeah, the roof and windows are the big ticket items. Garage door, yes, So, I include it because here's what happens. Let's say I didn't know I had a PACE loan, but I know I got a new roof and it's 35,000. You guys listening? So I know I bought a new roof, 35,000, I got a PACE loan, and now I'm selling my house. And as a regular homeowner, forgot all about the PACE loan because I'm paying my taxes, right? I go to closing and I thought I was gonna get $100,000 back, but then they deducted the $30,000 PACE loan. But you don't get that payoff until the week before closing. So, as a seller, could I back out of the deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm pissed off because I didn't know that I had to pay off all that money. I thought I could pass it on. So this explains that you can't pass it on. So I always include this, whether there is a PACE loan or not. And if there isn't, great. But if there is, it's included. Make sense?
So you
If
included,
you're in doubt, include it. If they say there's a new roof and new windows, include this. If they pay cash for it, fine. They'll be like, no, I pay cash for it. I don't have to, fine. But this is the offer, right? I'm putting you on notice just in case. So include it.
So did you go, you ask the listing agent if they have? If they have it, you ask the listing agent, or you just?
Sometimes I ask, other times I just shove it in there. And if they say, no, there's no PACE loan, okay, fine.
So when they do the title search.
I can find it. It's no lien on. it.
Oh, it's not a link.
There's
Yeah.
no lien.
That's all I asked her. She said get the.
The only place you can see it is in the text. Here, I'll show you mine. I have my MLS. I have two, I have a PACE loan. I have a PACE loan, okay. So. Where's my,
Does the seller applies for PACE loan?
oh, that's a whole other story. I can't do that now. So this is how you're gonna see it. I bought the house in 2020. And then my taxes went to this. Look at this to this.
Jesus.
My PACE loan.
Oh,
It's my PACE loan. And so you see, it says non-ad valorem. Ad valorem, non-ad valorem. So this is my, see how it went from 473 non-ad valorem? That's my loan. Because here's my non-ad valorem here, so I can see it, right? But it'll also show it to me. I don't know, property tax details, maybe it's in, but it'll, oh, it is in, this is so crazy that actually see my business. Look at this, Florida Green Financial Authority, that's who my loan is through, and there's the $1,000.
So they get that.
Every year, 10 years.
Well,
Yeah, but this one is nothing, right? $49, non-ad valorem,
what's so high?
because they're greedy, they're greedy. I know, I expect them to pick up my dog food, but that's non-ad valorem.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? There's so much in here.
it's a 10-year tax.
It's a 10-year to pay off my loan. It's just, right? Right? I'm like,
And it's paid
I
to
was
tax.
scared, I didn't use it and everything.
well, I did a lot of research because there's one company that's being sued Florida Green is not, but there's another one and I forgot the name of it. It's being sued right.
And this is to make your house more energy
This
efficient.
is for the windows, my windows and doors.
What about when FPL is always sending people those notices about,
I don't know anything about FPNL.
oh,
She doesn't.
I'm not an FPNL fan.
okay.
Really don't like.
Do you have a pin out?
Yeah. Well, remember we looked at my, what's the first two numbers of my property ID? I'm county, I'm not Lakewood.
Oh.
00 means county. I am not
So
Lakewood.
you're unemployed.
Yes, now, my post office is Lakewood, but I'm in unincorporated county. So much stuff in here. I could show you so much more, but it's 4 o'clock. Okay,
Oh, this is an MS.
I'm at, right?
so you check off the ones you're going to use, right? And then you have to, if you have additional terms, so like the
This is where
seller.
you put the whole warranty you mentioned.
No, I'm not, no, that's an addendum. That's after the contract and after everything. But I do want you to put in here. And you'll need to write these down. So the final thing. Seller. Sell. At seller's expense. Close out. All. Open. Inactive or expired permits. And deliver proof their fire. Oh, one spelling mistake. I was on a roll. I don't want you to write anything else in this section, bless you, because there are 2 sections that talk about permits. But the other 2 sections that talk about how to handle the permits is legitimate, except it says that the seller doesn't have to pay. So all I'm doing here is saying that the seller has to pay for it and provide proof that it was done. That's all I'm saying there.
So then the second
You're clarifying.
thing is seller doesn't
Hmm?
pay.
Yeah, because the other one says that they don't have.
Can they argue that they won't pay for it? Based on that section? If it's like-
No. Well, if you don't put that in there, they don't have to pay. for it.
Those show
Not an
that
argument.
states. They're approved to vote prior to it.
I'm trying to type
They're for prior. They're all.
affiliated business disclosure. I need you to put this in as an other, because they're not filling, the other side isn't. Why doesn't this have a spell check? How hard would that be? Okay, the affiliated business disclosure is a disclosure. It's not that you're using them like everything else, it's a disclosure. I'm telling you that we own a title company and a mortgage company, you don't have to use them whatever you want, but I have to let you know because that's a RESPA violation.
Oh,
So just sign it. You don't have to use them. It doesn't say that you have to use them. I just have to let you, I have to disclose, I have to tell. you. Okay, and
And then
then
go back to the additional term, several.
that's it. Seller,
Deliver
seller's
proof their
expense.
prior.
Well, I'll open active or expired permit, then we approve their applied returns. You good? The only other thing you have to read to them, and I always highlight this. So on my contract, when I go over it with them, I always highlight this. There's a whole discussion about this. I'm not gonna get into it now. Make sure that your buyer signs it and that their address is on here. And as an agent, if you are the buyer's agent, you're the cooperating sales agent, and then you KW Reserve. And the listing agent, you put their name and their company. If you have both sides, your name goes on both sides, and if you only have one side, like with the FISBO, you would put an NA on the other side. Just don't leave it blank. Remember, nothing blank. You did it. 8 minutes later, but we did it. And I can stop recording. Maybe